Hey cousins, happy Tuesday. I hope you guys had a great weekend because I sure did. If you saw my Instagram stories, you saw that I was having the time of my life in Mexico. And shout out to the random group of Jews I met outside the club. That was the funniest plot twist of the weekend. But every time I leave the country, especially when I'm going south of the border, I cannot wait to come back to America. We might have our problems, but at least I'm not terrified to drink the water in majority of our country. However, Flint, Michigan, don't think I don't see you though. Okay. But anyways, we have quite a lot to cover today. A lot of you wanted to know my take on the JFK files being released allegedly today, but they have not come out yet. So I want to set the tone for when these documents do come out, what it is that I would like to see and the truth that I seek. Later in the show, we will be discussing a trans woman who made an ironically valid point about being in the men's bathroom, as well as the debate of Sabrina Carpenter that was all over X. Is she too freaky, or should parents take ownership before exposing them to Sabrina and her sex positions? Speaking of Eiffel Towers, there are French politicians trying to take away our Statue of Liberty, and I have a lot to say about that and so much more today. Y'all know the vibes. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Welcome to Respectfully Xavier. First of all, shout out to PragerU. You know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and it is still one of our major fundraising months. Just so you know, your donations to us are tax deductible and they will be matched. The value will be doubled. So please go to PragerU.com and check out all of our free content that is educating people and trying to save our society from being too ghetto.
Will be tripled, actually.
Oh, it's triple now?
Yeah, tripled. Can you believe it?
See, this is why we need Mr. Rodriguez. He always knows the logistics.
Got you.
It is triple match. So meaning if you give us $1, it will become $3, I believe, is how that works. So yes, go to PragerU.com, have the value of your donation tripled, and it keeps the lights on in here, and it keeps us edutaining all of you. We are educating you and entertaining you all at once. That being said, the JFK files are soon to be revealed. So there was a big announcement made that 80,000 pages are soon going to be released of the JFK files. And according to President Trump, they are supposed to be minimally redacted. Now, as excited as I am for these pages to be revealed, I'm also very, very skeptical at this point, especially after the whole Epstein files debacle. I am very limited on my trust on how much truth we are going to get. And I hate to be a pessimist, but just so y'all know, of the 80,000 pages we are getting, yes, hopefully that's a lot of the more concrete information, but there are 6 million pages in total when it comes to files related to to JFK. And if you don't believe me, it's even on the website. If we can pull up this screenshot of the website, this website here is actually where the files are going to land once the files are released about JFK. And if you squint and you read in there, it does say how there are over 6 million pages of these classified documents that are hopefully going to be declassified in full. And someone told me that you can assume that a lot of these pages are either cover pages or headers or whatever that is. But at this point, I want to see everything. I want to see the index. I want to see the glossary. I want to see the MLA format page. I do. I want to see it all. I want to see the receipts. At this point, I need to see the receipts because I want to know what happened to JFK, because that is one of the biggest mysteries that has really just plagued our country in the last century. And just to kind of walk you back on some of the craziness of that situation and why there's a lot of questions for those of you who are like me and pretty young and obviously weren't around in that era to really learn the tea of what happened. Just a quick rundown. So back in November 22nd, 1963, JFK was assassinated in Dallas, Texas during a motorcade. Now, he was shot by a Marine sniper named Lee Harvey Oswald with a rifle. And he was arrested, and they claimed that he was the lone gunman, which immediately to me, I have a lot of questions. I find it very shocking, the thought of a Marine going and assassinating the president. It really makes me wonder why and who it was that motivated you to do this. And, you know, there's a lot of people who have doubt, a lot of people who believe that either the CIA or the mafia or some government insider had influence in this situation and was suspected to be a part of Oswald's whole MO because he does have a very murky past. And then what makes it even weirder is that just days after Lee Harvey Oswald murdered JFK, a lot of people don't know this. The killer was murdered too. The killer had an op too. A guy named Jack Ruby went and killed Lee Harvey Oswald just days later, which again makes me wonder, was there something that we weren't supposed to learn, or was this guy just someone who wanted to go and avenge the president? And when I read up on Jack Ruby a little bit, it talked about how he was a Jewish man that wanted to prove that Jews are strong and Jews are going to stand on business, which respect that. Got to respect that. But this isn't really a way that you show that. And I just find that whole thing questionable because this is before, at least to my guess would be this was long before the whole thing of a murderer is going to be the person that is glorified, like how we have Luigi Mangione today, who is getting all this praise of being a murderer. I don't think, at least I would assume that wasn't the energy that they had back then, but I just thought the whole thing was weird. Another thing that was really weird that I actually learned just a few years ago, because I have always recalled how JFK was shot in this motorcade, how the guy in front of him was shot in the motorcade, like all these people were hurt in the motorcade, and there was all these bullet wounds everywhere. Allegedly, that was one bullet. Let's play this video that breaks it down because I just find it really suspicious.
A single bullet was fired from a rifle on a 6th floor window. First, it entered JFK's upper back and traveled downward, exiting through his throat. Then it struck the governor in the back, shattering a rib as it tore through his chest. The bullet continued, exiting the governor's chest and hitting his right wrist, breaking a bone. Finally, it lodged itself into the governor's thigh, where it stayed until removed by doctors in almost perfect condition. Now, investigators claimed that this is what happened. A single bullet caused 6 wounds while staying intact. But many argue that the bullet's trajectory is impossible. The angles just don't add up, leaving us wondering if there was actually more than one bullet.
Yeah, I have no shame in sometimes having a tinfoil hat, but that to me just seems so far-fetched that this bullet stayed in perfect condition and it was just one singular bullet that made this happen. I don't know if there were more than one shooter, but like, I don't know. I just find it very weird. Do y'all find that weird? I find it a little weird. And then what makes it also more intense is we all know RFK Jr. now, part of his whole mission is how he wants to avenge his uncle and his father, because RFK Sr. was also murdered June 5th, 1968. He was murdered in Los Angeles after a campaign speech. Now, they say that he was shot multiple times at close range by a guy named Saran, a 24-year-old Palestinian, the ancestor of a Hamas member, more than likely. Yeah, I went there. But a 24-year-old Palestinian man went and shot him up. Now, when I said to pull a picture of RFK, I did not mean a picture of him looking gore like that. Ms. Rodriguez, what is going on back there? I did not need to see that.
Will surprised us today.
Y'all scaring me with these scary images, child. But they say that the official report says that Saran acted alone. It was motivated by RFK's pro-Israel stance. Goes to show that not a lot has changed in the last, 60 years. Like, come on now. They've been beefing. These people have been beefing for like 10,000 years. I can't imagine beefing with somebody for 2,000 years. But at the same time, I could, because I hold grudges. And I don't really trust people who don't hold grudges. If you don't hold grudges, I feel like you're a little too forgiving and you're a little too naive. But all that to say, I still wouldn't be out here murdering my op for hundreds, if not thousands of years. You have to learn to move on at some point. But all that to say, now, with RFK, there's a lot of questions, too, because there were extra bullets found inside of him and around him after the crime scene. So, again, they say that Saran was the one person that was involved in murdering RFK Sr., but it's confusing because his handgun doesn't hold as many bullets as there were found at the scene. So it has people wondering, was there a second shooter? Was the CIA involved? What was going on here? Both of these deaths are clearly tied to political motives with a lot of skepticism around it. So I just have a lot of questions. I have a whole lot of questions, but one of the elements of this that I think is really underrated, or maybe it's just because I'm a stan of her, is I want to know the truth of what happened to Marilyn Monroe. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I don't see enough people going there. What happened to Miss Marilyn Monroe? Okay? The icon, the beauty, the standard, the quintessential blonde. Like Marilyn Monroe, this iconic actress, she needs no introduction. Unfortunately, she died in August of 1962, so a few years before the Kennedys died, and she died allegedly of an overdose, or at least that is how it is deemed. Now, there are a lot of factors that make this really confusing, and why does she tie into the Kennedys? So I would assume a lot of you know by now the relationship with the Kennedys that she had, but some of you might not, because I bring it up randomly to people in conversation, and they will act surprised. They didn't know just the depth of Marilyn Monroe's relationship with the Kennedys. A lot of people speculate that her and JFK were romantic, which you can't really deny that if you see the receipts. But there's a lot of confirmation about the fact that her death was suspicious. At the minimum, her death was very suspicious. Because you break down some of these facts of how RFK Sr. actually visited Marilyn Monroe's home earlier in the day that she died. Oh, yes. And this has been confirmed by FBI surveillance records. This has been confirmed. The dynamic of the relationship was confirmed by Frank Sinatra's valet, all these different people. Even a neighbor of Marilyn Monroe supported that it is a fact that RFK visited Marilyn's home before she died. But what also makes it weird is that after she died, the whole cleanup effort of her crime scene was very, very rushed. It was extremely rushed. There were a lot of just basic protocols that you would take, especially when a star of this popularity and caliber dies unexpectedly and very suddenly. There are a lot of protocols that are supposed to take place that did not. She also had a lot of phone calls between her or amongst her, JFK and RFK, that were later erased by AT&T after they were initially confirmed to be real. So between that, the rapid cleanup, the delay of the police even being notified about the situation, also, one thing that I find very suspicious is how her autopsy is missing details about her stomach content. How can you declare that this woman died of an overdose, but you are not providing the context that were in her stomach and her autopsy? To me, that shows like there was foul play here that you don't want us to know. Another thing I thought was interesting was how Marilyn Monroe's housekeeper was shifting her story back and forth about the timeline of her death, and as well as about the Kennedys' contact with her, which hints at there was a lot of pressure that was there. So I just have a lot of questions about it. Did Marilyn know something that we weren't supposed to know? Did Marilyn know something that maybe Russia wanted to know? Like, what was going on in this situation that led to Marilyn Monroe being tied into this? I have a lot of questions about that. And, some people also speculate that the Kennedys, and I'm not putting this out there because, again, I wasn't even there, Chad. This really ain't my business, but I'm making it my business because this is respectfully. But Marilyn Monroe and JFK, because JFK was having this clear affair with her. And before you can even deny that there was an affair, this is just mere months before Marilyn's passing, this iconic video. Can we play this video really quick of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President"?
Happy birthday to you.
So sultry.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
They don't make icons like this anymore.
Happy birthday to you.
Come on. You can't tell me. Any man is going to fold to that. You cannot tell me. I love her so much. You cannot tell me that JFK watched that performance and wasn't smitten over that girl. But there's all kinds of photos out there that you can find of them being very amorous. And it's actually said by Marilyn's old doctor that she was depressed and potentially abusing prescription drugs because of the breakup between her and JFK. So I have more questions about that. One way or another, her death seems like it was correlated to the Kennedys in some manner, and we deserve justice for Marilyn Monroe. And justice for Marilyn Monroe does not include what Kim Kardashian did. I love Kim Kardashian. Unpopular opinion, hot take. I'll fight with y'all about that on another day. But Kim K almost made me mad with this. Look at Kim K wearing Marilyn's dress. This is the same dress that Marilyn Monroe sang to President JFK in. And Kim, I believe, wore it to the Met Gala. I think it was the Met Gala she wore it to. Kim, you know good and well your body shape was stretching that out. Now, Marilyn was a curvy girl. which a lot of people don't fully realize. Like, I believe she was like a size 5. People try to act like she was a size 0. Marilyn was a curvy girl. But Kim, this was before you had your implants taken out of your behind or whatever fat redistribution you had going on. You knew good and well you shouldn't have been stretching out that girl's dress. That is an American treasure. But Kim K, you're basically the Marilyn Monroe of our era. And I can only say that about that. Let's move on along. Now, I want to... Y'all are going to hate me for this title. Let's talk about this Trannylicious diva in the bathroom. So a forever just ongoing debate. Hopefully it's not forever. Hopefully this debate ends soon. It's about biological men in women's bathrooms, in women's locker rooms. And this video I thought had an ironic truth to it that I kind of want to debrief. And really what I think the solution is here, because there really is a common sense solution to this issue.
Y'all want me in the men's washroom just because I'm trans? What if your man is in here? Look at this hot babe. Hello? Any trade up in here? Where's the trade? Hello? Is there a trade up in here? What if this was your boyfriend?
Clearly a women's restroom because it's way too Well, first of all, let me say this. My first priority will always be protect women and children. Protect biological women and children. That is always going to be the precedent that needs to be set. Or the precedent, I hate that word. I hate that word so much. Precedent, you know what I'm trying to say. But that is always going to be the status quo. Protect women and children first. Now, a couple things about this. I hate to say it. I hope it don't sound ridiculous, but if I'm telling the honest truth, some of you would lose your husband to that doll, as they call each other, in the bathroom. Some of you would lose your husband. Some of you would. Especially if this is at like a bar or something, some of you might lose your husband to a tranny. And that is an issue within itself. That is more of a spiritual issue that y'all need to unpack within your own marriages. But that isn't as much my concern. I just think this is dangerous for a number of reasons, but I also think it's dangerous for the Trannylicious divas. The trans women who look like that trans woman are going to be subject to danger if you put them in a biological men's bathroom, which is something that I feel like you kind of had to accept when you start to transition. But when we talk about putting a biological man in a women's prison or in a man's prison or what that looks like, I don't want to put any American in a situation that is inherently dangerous unnecessarily. But also you have to, I accept fully that these people are putting themselves in a position of danger. So you know me, I'm always trying to look at things with a little bit of nuance. But what I think is the clear common sense solution here that for some reason hasn't happened yet is that we need to create a more formal process of what it means to be a transgender. Now, a lot of you are going to say, no, we just got to get rid of it altogether. You know, I'm not going to get in the way of stopping that. But when it comes to transgenderism, you know, I feel like adults over the age of 18, you have your rights to do what you want to do in this country. And you have to accept it whether you like it or not. Transgenderism is never going away in America. The problem isn't that there are trans people in America. Well, you could argue that it is, but that's not the argument that I'm here to make. The argument is that it's too fluid. Okay, this is, I believe, really real transgender people who really have gender dysphoria make up less than 1% of the country. But the reason that their population feels so big is because, one, you have this massive push from the media to constantly have them in our face, but you have this status quo now that they can just wake up and change their gender. So that's why it is getting so out of control. And if you look at just how many more transgender people are coming into our country or are just populating within our country. Like, look at this, just exponential growth on the amount of trans people that are in our country. And I don't believe for 1 second that this many people have gender dysphoria. So here's what I believe the solution should be. And this is my personal opinion. This is not necessarily even a stance of PragerU. This is the stance of Xavier DeRusso. So don't y'all even try to come at PragerU for this. But here's what I think should happen. I think it should start with a very extensive psych exam, and I think it should be a multi-year psych exam and process. I think that there should be some type of professional therapist, not some biased, woke, also green-haired individual that claims to be a doctor. You need somebody that is a medical professional, a psychiatric professional to do years of psych exams to confirm, like, okay, this is somebody that really has gender dysphoria. These are all the real concrete symptoms. Then after that, a physical threshold should be set. There should be there is a look. Objectively, there is a look of what the aesthetic of a woman looks like. Not saying that a woman can't be more masculine, but there is an aesthetic that obviously these trans women try to emulate, because the trans women don't, more often than not, they don't claim to be trans and not try to look like something. If you're trying to look like something, it's your idea of what you think a woman is. But there should be some basic threshold of physical changes that go into place before you even get to the legal process of identifying as a transgendered person. Because I'm looking at this from a medical perspective. When you go to doctors nowadays, especially somewhere like LA, it's going, because you can't do the whole, oh, I'm just going to say non-binary. No. If you are going to a doctor, even in Los Angeles, you have to say, are you male? Are you female? Are you male to female? Or are you female to male? Before you get the male to female or female to male type of access, what I think that there needs to be is a concrete process that declares you that is multiple years, multiple steps, and honestly should cost a lot of money that I will be very twisted if healthcare starts to pay for. That should be something that comes out of your own pocket. That should be something that if you want it that bad, that is something you should be paying for. And why I go on this whole rant is someone like that trans woman that was just in that video. I look at what they're saying, and their whole point is like trying to attract people as men. That's an issue for a whole nother day. But the issue that I'm seeing is like the thought of, if that trans woman went into a man's bathroom, they're going to be so much more subject to being sexually assaulted. And that's not something that I'm okay with. Okay. That's just something that I do find concerning, because at the end of the day, I do not want to see people be hurt. I don't want to see Americans in danger, nor do I want to see your marriages in danger. I don't want to see anybody in danger unnecessarily, unless it's someone that absolutely deserves it. So let me know what you guys think of that. I feel like nobody really takes that angle of it. It's like so many people are either you have to get rid of it all the way or just allow it all the way. It's like, no, can we create a process? Okay. And as somebody who is very anti-big government, sometimes the government needs to step in and intervene when things are getting a little bit too crazy. And I think that we are at the point with transgenderism that it's time to do that. Let me know what y'all think, 'cause I already know y'all dragging me as I speak on this. Anyway, I want to talk about Sexy Red and Gworlz, because once again, it seems like the hood Gworlz are taking over the world, child. I saw this interview from female rappers Sexy Red and Gworlz. If you don't know them, congratulations. They are, again, two modern female rappers. I'll put it this way, because I'll say this time and time again. When it comes to the bar of talent, of class, of intelligence, of longevity, of skill sets, it is Nicki and everybody else. So here are two of her sons.
How do you want to open up the doors for women in hip hop?
I feel like we open them up for them because, like, we from the trenches, like, they can relate to us. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like they picked up a random girl from the hood and just gave her some money and put her on TV. That's how I feel when I look at myself. Because I be like, ain't no way.
At least she's self-aware. At least she's self-aware, and that's part of the issue in the first place. The other part of the issue is they're showing way too much detail of what she actually looks like, and it's kind of giving me a jump scare because this is 4K. No shade. But all that to say, that's what's happening. Why do these talent agencies and production companies keep going and getting random girls out of the hood and making them stars? They keep going and finding the most unintelligent people that they possibly can find and telling young black girls, this is what you're supposed to relate to. This is what you're supposed to emulate. Okay, I don't care about relatability. I want to see the culture be elevated. I want to see young black girls having women that they can look up to that set the bar higher. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with having a hood chick getting a bag. I'm very pro hood chicks getting a bag, but the fact that this is the new prototype for female rappers, if you don't know much about Sexy Red, she's a glorified stripper. I don't know if Gworlz was ever a stripper, but both of them, Gworlz is genuinely really talented. Sexy Red makes some bops. Some of my favorite ratchet songs when I'm in the club come from Sexy Red. But that being said, there are so many artists out there that are equally, if not way more talented, but also talk about concepts with substance, which is why I can appreciate a Doechii. Y'all know I dragged her like a week ago for being an industry plant, but I can at least respect that compared to going and grabbing the most random hood girls who can barely put a sentence together and making them the forefront of the black female community. Let's continue the clip.
Like, is this a prank? I don't know. It's crazy.
I feel like we bought like a new, not exactly a new sound, but kind of a new sound. Like
a new is it called genre? It don't look like it's spelled genre. It's like Jenner. We the new Jenner, and
I can't. Illiterate birds. I'm okay. I'm done with this video. Illiterate birds. These girls are illiterate birds. This woman cannot read. Just like Cardi B, who can't read nor write, this girl right here cannot read. Genre, you literally work in the music industry and you don't know how to say the word genre? So this is a new genre, this is a new genre, and people are laughing like this is cute. This is not cute. This is ghetto hood rattery. I am sick of the hood rattery. The bar is in hell for female rap, for culture in general. Because what do you mean you can't say genre? You got me saying it crazy. See the influence that this bird had on me? I can't even say the word genre because of her. This is almost as bad as her bestiana, her best friend, Sukiana. Sukiana, this clip went everywhere about a year. Was it a year ago? I don't even know if it was a full year ago yet. But this clip lives in my head so rent-free because this, again, is another up-and-coming female rapper that is getting an insane amount of stardom, even though she is literally illiterate and mentally challenged. Let's play the clip.
I got to pull this one up for you right now. Yeah, I just realized this is the one we missed. I'll pull this up in a second. You can keep on going.
It'll come up in just a minute, but she's the girl who was like, she was on an interview and she gets asked if she's a musician. And you will not believe this woman really did not know what musician meant. She is literally a female rapper and she is thinking that the word musician is magician. She's like, does that mean make magic or something? We got it ready?
Almost.
Okay, we'll come back to it because I really need y'all to see that. I really need y'all to see that because that video lives in my head rent free and annoys my soul. Until then, I do want to say, and actually it's okay. They can see it later. If you want to see, Sukiana thinks that musician means makes magic. She doesn't know the difference between making magic versus making music. She thinks the words are too similar. Crazy mess. Anyway, these black women, because a lot of you will try to be like, oh, you're attacking black women. Oh, no. They're not the only degenerates out here. Because Sabrina Carpenter, girl, we see you. We see you out here violating the people of France. So do y'all know Sabrina Carpenter? Okay, I'm sitting here talking this mess, but she had a really good album. Her, what is it, Short and Sweet album, bop of an album. But the first thing I realized about this girl is she is very horny. Like, her music is so ridiculously sexual. Like, and it's crazy because she has this cute girl aesthetic. She's very bubbly and she's like, literally, I don't even know if she's 5 feet tall. And she is just something else. And her songs just feel like you're walking through Candyland. Like, you know that song Espresso, Please, 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 Taste, like all massive top 5 hits on Billboard that came out last year. Well, Sabrina was getting a lot of flack on Twitter, or AKA X, because she debuted a new position at her concert recently, which is a gimmick of hers. Every concert she does, or every major concert she does like some really hypersexualized position while doing the show. And this is the one that had people, especially the people of France, up in arms. Now, for those of you who busy your hands with the Lord's work and don't know, that is a sex position called Eiffel Tower. And the reason I bring this up is because she did this because she's in Paris. And now there's a huge debate about whether or not this is taking it too far. And a lot of people are mad because their children are there. And Sabrina Carpenter has a very large audience of children. But first of all, I find that hypocritical of the parents because, and not just for the reason that a lot of you already can tell, I'm going to say, but for the sole fact that I can't stand how boomers and even Gen X isn't boomers, right? I think boomers is before Gen X. However, even all of y'all, millennials too, all of y'all are always trying to act like these new artists are way too sexualized, as if Madonna didn't exist in the 80s and 90s. She still exists to this day, obviously, but the fact that you had artists like Madonna, she released literally an entire sex book and an album called Erotica, where she was just being nasty and freakalicious all over the world, and you're acting like Sabrina Carpenter is the first to be sexual on tour. I mean, Britney Spears, she was like 18 and being hypersexual. At least Sabrina Carpenter is 25. And the women aren't the only ones either. James Brown, super freak. Have you really listened to the words of a James Brown song? So a lot of these prior generations, and even like the rap old heads talking about how these new girls are too vile. At least I'll honestly say too, Lil' Kim was the most ratchet of them all. Foxy Brown was a nasty gal too. So a lot of these old school artists were just as nasty and freaknicky, but Freak Nick, for those of you who know Freak Nick, all of y'all were nasty. Y'all were nasty last century too. So don't sit here and play like Sabrina Carpenter is the only one. But what annoys me is that there was this huge argument with people writing think pieces of saying that Sabrina Carpenter needs to be mindful of the fact that her audience is full of children. Her audience being full of children is not her fault. Okay, yes, she has this very cutesy aesthetic, but nobody told the parents to take your kids there. And this is a message to parents, a PSA to parents. You should have your kids watching PragerU Kids. You should have your kids watching, if it's not Looney Tunes, it should be Leo and Layla on PragerUkids.com. Your kids should be watching things that are educational or entertaining. Not saying that I had the most, Puritan childhood, and which is probably why I was such a liberal, but your kids don't need to be listening to this hypersexual music. And yes, it's popular and you can only guard your kids so much, but it's one thing I feel like to listen to the music and to go and watch the music be played out. Because if you even just went on geniuslyrics.com and looked up a single Sabrina Carpenter song, even her biggest hits on the radio are so hypersexual. So I don't understand why people are pretending to be shocked by this entire thing. I pulled up just a couple lyrics from the song that she was performing there called Juno. Bop. Certified bop. But you listen to the lyrics. This girl says, "Want to try out my fuzzy pink handcuffs." So did parents hear that lyric and just hear fuzzy and pink and think that it's cutesy for the little girls? They just disregarded the whole purpose of the handcuffs. She also has a lyric in that same song saying, "Can't help myself, hormones are high." She's not talking about transitioning. She's not. And one more, she has, "Hold me and explore me. I'm so effing bruh." Let me stop before Mr. Rodriguez cuts my mic. Like, come on now. Come on. You heard these lyrics and thought, this is where I want to take my little girl. And if you do, then cool for you. But don't come on Twitter complaining that you're mad that you went to this show with your daughter and now you feel like your daughter saw all this like hypersexuality. Okay, Sabrina Carpenter's target audience, based on her lyrics, is not 12-year-old girls. Sabrina Carpenter's target demographic is 5'2" horny freaks. And y'all should have been aware of that already. Okay, look at her prior performances, listen to her music, do all of that before you take your kids to go see her. And now, last thing I want to talk about, speaking of France, is our goofy of the day, Paris. Actually, not just Paris, the whole nation of France is the goofy of the day. So let me give y'all a quick little history lesson because some of y'all don't read your history books these days and it shows, no shade. But the Statue of Liberty, you guys know, Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty out there on Ellis Island. Shout out to the Statue of Liberty. So the Statue of Liberty was actually a gift from France back in 1886. It was a gift to the United States as a symbol of friendship between the two nations and a celebration of American democracy after the Civil War. Now, there is a French politician by the name of Raphael Glucksmann, a French member of the European Parliament, and he is claiming that America no longer embodies the values of freedom and democracy and that it was meant to represent. And it is just so funny to me that France is all up in our business. They have so much nerve and audacity. So this guy cited that the U.S. foreign policy shifts under President Donald Trump, particularly when it comes to redacting or reducing some of the support for Ukraine against Russia and the cuts to the federal funding of scientific research that is going to all the woke causes that France is pushing for, that was evidence of the shift. I will say he did later clarify on X that he didn't mean to literally take back the Statue of Liberty. He wanted to take it, he meant that statement to be symbolic and that it was intended to be a wake-up call rather than a literal demand for the statue's return. But it's like, you're probably backtracking because you knew that was not going to happen. You can't just repo the Statue of Liberty, okay? This is not Section 8. This is not Section 8. We were this close to being the United States of Section 8, but this is not Section 8. You can't just come and repo our statue like it's some car that we missed the payment on. That's not going to happen. And, you know, shout out to Caroline Levitt. I'm obsessed with her. She's doing such a great job. She clapped back when this reporter asked her about it, and I just need you to hear what she has to say because it had me rolling.
Something different. There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country. Kelly.
Caroline Levitt, who raised you? I want to know who raised her. Why do I feel like she was raised around a bunch of sassy black aunties? Because her clapbacks are like Aretha Franklin level and just so classy yet so shady. It's like there are only a handful of white women with that level of clapback in them. It's so quick. She's so witty. But then again, let me not sleep because I know a whole lot of old white grannies that are very sassy and very witty. Whoever raised Caroline, shout out to you. Shout out to you because I just love how quick she is on her feet, and she shut him down with all that shade as she should and had the history to back it up too. I know that's right. But really, France needs to mind their business. Okay, France is always up in our business and worry about what we got going on and issues that we have, and we might not be a perfect country, but at least we haven't gone through 4 prime ministers in under a year. Okay, y'all are worse at committing to a prime minister than Jennifer Lopez is at committing to a man. Okay, y'all are going through a cycle. Y'all might as well have Taylor Swift be the prime minister next because you're going to get rid of her anyway. Okay, these people cannot keep a prime minister. Again, America only has so much room to talk because we got a lot of debt ourselves. But France, you are a very small nation compared to us. Why is your national debt over 3.2 trillion euros? You are out here spending like your whole country is royalty. But really, you guys are broke. And probably why a lot of you are broke is because you're addicted to rioting and protesting. Every time I hear about France in the news, I feel like I'm hearing about a riot or a protest that's happening over there. And yes, we have that problem here too. But France, get it together. Y'all are supposed to be the country of love and art and snails and escargot. And before y'all try to say that I'm being phobic against French, look at my last name. My people are French too, but I haven't even gone there because I know how that side of my family is, and I want to square up on them every time I'm around them. So the French, you need to really stay in your own lane. You guys have way too many of your own issues to be coming at us, especially the fact that Bridget Macron, how do you say her? Bridget Macron, how do you say that? Bridget Macron, she's still struggling to beat the allegations that she is a Trannylicious diva. So until y'all figure that out, until y'all figure out your own situation and whether or not we're the equivalent of your first lady or of whatever her role is, whether or not she's a Trannylicious diva, don't be all up in America's business. Can America have our business to ourselves sometime? That's all I have to say about that. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Respectfully, a hot mess per usual, because that's just how y'all enjoy it from what the surveys are saying. Oh yes, please go and do that survey that is in the description. I want to know what you guys are loving about the show, what you guys are hating about the show. I am open to constructive criticism because Lord knows y'all gonna give it to me anyway. Make sure you also check out all the great content on PragerU.com. We have all sorts of educational content for kids, for adults, for the grown old folk, all of y'all, everything in between from 5 to 105, even 106 if you're pushing it. Go check it out. It is triple match month. Every donation you give to keep the lights on in our building and to keep us reaching people with billions of views annually, it is very much appreciated. It will be triple match this month. Love you guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on Thursday.